Welcome in to a Moment to Leap podcast. My name is Ryan Bouda, and we started January talking a little bit about change, about level 1 and level 2 change. But today, we're going to focus on how to build a foundation so that your change is the most successful that it can be. There's something in particular that we can do, and if we think enough through it and make sure the messaging is clear enough, we can really start off our change on the right foot. So, what we're going to talk a little bit about is the first strategy that we teach about facilitating change with more ease. And it's very simple. It's all about clarifying the why, which everyone knows is a pretty simple part of facilitating great change. We need to know, why are we embarking on this change? What's the purpose? What's the reason behind it? We all understand that. But I want to give a little more context to it. So, we're going to start with a little story. So, I have a leader. She is a leader of the services department's service lines across a pretty large hospital. So she has a ton of different departments under her. And unfortunately, a few months ago, when they were looking at their finances and how they were going to go into 2026, they had to make a decision to let 60 people go. And when she brought this to her managers to share about the finances, what it was going to look like, and why they made the decision around finances, about half her managers completely understood the decision. And yes, it was really hard and really uncomfortable and really sad. They knew, okay, finances, that's what's going on. For the other half, they were really struggling with the decision. And so she talked about with me in a coaching session that she had come back to them a few times, reiterating the reason why. It's about the finances. Here's what the finances look like. This is why we have to make this decision. But they weren't connecting to it. And the reason is really simple. When we think about why, we also have to think about different people. What are they considering? What's important to them? What are they worried about? What do they really want to hear and understand about? The why of money was very logistical, very operational, very efficiency. So it did connect with some people. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to use our disc profiles again, which again, if you haven't heard them, all is well. I'm going to kind of explain them as we go through this. But if we use those to better understand people, what's important to them, and how we can connect with them individually, we'll learn how to facilitate the why of change even more effectively. Because that why needs to connect with different people, different processors, different thinkers. So let's look at this from, like I said, the DISC standpoint. So from a DISC standpoint, when this leader was communicating about the finances, two types of people, two types of styles were able to connect very easily to it, typically, right? Our D style is our very direct, results-driven people. And so they can look at it and they can say, okay, I can see and understand this very clear, direct set of results for finances and how we need to make a change in that. Perfect. They understand that. Our C's as well, also very logical, operational, to figure out the efficiency, and they go, oh, I see and understand that. Now, I want to be clear. Both those D and C style people, they still care about humans, but they also understand that why a little deeper. However, the people that my manager was struggling with, they were oftentimes I's and S's. So an I is our influence. They're a lot more social. They are a lot more collaborative. They a lot more have relationships with people. So it's our I style. And our S style really cares about collaboration, working well together with people, having stability, which this type of change doesn't allow. And they're really concerned about people. And so when she was giving this why about money, it's not that their brains didn't understand, oh, we're having a financial issue and here's how we're going to rectify it. They understood that. But what they didn't hear was the whys about the patients, how it's going to affect them and their families, how it's going to affect the staff who remains, right? What's that going to do for the staff? How's that going to affect their workloads, their hours, the amount of patients that they're either required to see or oversee during the day? And then the third thing is, Well, how's that going to affect all the people who are losing their positions? What's that look like? And so, if we want to learn how to really communicate a why effectively, I want us to think about that we need to be able to hit the logic and the emotion of a why. How's it going to affect the people? How's this maybe going to make us more efficient, more effective, allow us to serve patients better? Even if it's financial, if we can make sure when we're explaining the why this why matters to humans, you'll connect more with these people who see the human side of things. And we make the biggest mistake when we try to explain the why from our own standpoint, the things that make sense to us, instead of recognizing there are different people with different thoughts who connect to those whys differently. And so that's the challenge here as we lead people and organizations, is as we go to facilitate a why, I want us to pause long enough to actually think about what's the logical why, what's the emotional why, how does it connect to outcomes and results? That's our D's. How does it connect to efficiency and operation? That's our C's. For our S's, how does it affect people? How's it going to impact people? And for our I's, how's it going to keep our energy? How's it going to help us collaborate more? And as we actually lay out these different ideas of why, when you deliver that to people, you'll be able to connect with different people, what's really important to them, and help this align the why so that as you drive forward, you have something to anchor to. That's why the why is so important. It allows us something to anchor to as we hit the inevitable speed bumps, the inevitable challenges of change. We talked about in the last one. Remember, our brains are not wired for change. They have their highways, and when you start to try to build new ones, it gets a little crazy, a little messy in there. And so, but when we have an anchor, we have a true why that connects to someone and what's important to them and their heart and their being, you're going to find that that change is so much more successful. So as you go about changes, I want you to think about where's the logical side, where's the emotional side, how do I connect to different people, to results, to efficiency, to people, to energy and collaboration. When you do that, you're going to get the best results anchoring something to something that's really important to people. So again, we keep this to 8 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us for a moment to leap. Take a moment out of your day, leap to the next level of greatness. I hope that next week we're going to spend a little time on a couple components that we teach about how to facilitate change even easier. So I'm really excited about that. It'll be a little about priming and giving this sense that all is good in this change. All is going to be okay as we hit these speed bumps. So again, thank you for taking a moment to leap with me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We hope to see you back next week.